I wanted to make a quick video about the informative speech to help you think about topic selection, preparation, and the different things that you need to do to make sure that you are successful. Informative speaking is one of the different types of speaking. We will talk about informative speaking, we will talk about persuasive speaking, we will talk about speeches to entertain and speeches to inspire. And so each of them have a specific purpose. And the purpose of an informative speech is to provide new and useful information. And because we're audience centered as speakers, that's the first thing that I want you to think about in this assignment is that I'm going to choose a topic that is new and useful to my audience, and then the materials that I select that will help support my speech is also new and useful. So the goal of this is to complete a process speech. So you are looking for a process or a system or a mechanism, and then you're going to break it down and teach your audience this information. And so as you can see in the content section of the directions, it gives you a few examples. Like, could you explain how noise canceling headphones block sound, or how anesthesia blocks pain during surgery, or when we compost, how does that work? How does it break down organic matter? Or how does a bill become a law in the state of Indiana? Or maybe you're wondering, how are credit scores calculated? So those are a few examples that we have for you. And the speeches, you're thinking about something that maybe you've always wondered, like, how does that work of a process or a system or some sort of mechanism? And so if you have any expertise in areas, this would be a good thing for you to explain how that works. Like one of my favorite speeches that I heard was someone who explained how a combine worked. And it was so fascinating to me. So this speech is a speech that's 3.5 minutes to 5 minutes. And in Com 210, we have grace periods for the speeches. So you have a 30-second grace period before or after. So your speech should be somewhere between 3 minutes and 5.5 minutes. That's a pretty big range of time that is available for you. And one of the things that I think is helpful is to know that if you're somebody who, when you're practicing, the speech seems right at 3 minutes, you're going to want to add, because a lot of people, when they get up to give their presentation, they tend to speed through the material, which means that they would have a hard time meeting the minimum requirement. If you are one of those people who tend to like add a lot when you are live or wander a little bit in your speaking, then you might want to also think about, like, oh, if every time I practice it's 5:20, then you're a little bit too close to the 5:30 section. So obviously 4:15 is Goldilocks when you're preparing for the speech, because that gives you a lot of room in case things change during the live actual presentation. For this speech, we ask that you are going to turn in a couple of things. One is that we ask for you to have an outline, and we have a template for you. So we encourage you to use that template. And then you also are going to have a works cited page. Usually that is just one document. So you can use MLA or APA citations. In this speech, one of the things that we require is that you have to have 4 credible sources. And so those sources will be cited out loud. So you will tell us where they were published and when. So you would say, The Atlantic on this specific date said X. And so the example in the directions is March 13th, 2025, Atlantic says. Or if it's a daily newspaper, you would say, the Wall Street Journal of January 12th, 2026 says X. And then we would know exactly where that information came from. We also will collect your note card. So you are allowed to use 3 note cards for this speech. And those note cards have to be handwritten, and they need to actually be a note card. So you can always stop by the main office in the communication building and receive a note card. And if you are in the in-person classes, your lab instructor will distribute those to you. And so a piece of paper cut up or a Post-it note is not a note card. We want you to practice with note cards in the class. And so on those note cards, you are going to write down keywords. You are going to, maybe you would write down the information if it's a direct quotation so that you don't misrepresent someone. But you are not writing your speech out word for word and you're reading to us, because that would be manuscript speaking. And this speech is extemporaneous. which means you have limited notes, and those notes are just to guide you. This type of speaking balances preparation and eye contact and delivery and connection with your audience. So, ideally, where you're going to spend your time rather than writing your speech out word for word is practicing your speech out loud, delivering it in whatever space you use as your rehearsal space so that you are familiar with it, so that you do the preparation outline, you transfer that to your note cards, then you practice with your note cards, and then finally you come and you deliver your speech with your note cards. So you will turn in your outline and your works cited page via Canvas, and you will turn in your note cards if you are in the in-person classes after you deliver the speech to your lab instructor. If you are in the online public speaking class, what you are going to do is you are going to show the camera either before or at the end of your speech, both sides of your note cards so that your lab instructor, when they're grading it, can see that you spoke from limited notes rather than a manuscript also. As you can see on the description of the assignment, there's a lot of information that includes the rubric, and the rubric will walk you through to make sure that you have all of the elements of the speech so that you can be successful in the speech. The two most important or the weighted heaviest in this assignment are two elements. One is audience analysis and one is organization. So in audience analysis, what we are looking for is that you chose a topic that was appropriate for your audience and that it's relevant, and that your explanation was very clear to both the knowledge and the interest of your audience. So obviously, if you were talking to a group of elementary students, that would be a very different type of explanation than if you were talking to a college group. Or if you were talking to someone who works in that industry, perhaps it would be a little bit more jargon and a little bit more complex. So we're looking for you to adapt it to your audience so that they learn new information that they find useful and that they're able to understand whatever it is that you're trying to teach them. The second element is organization, and that is that you have a clear introduction, body, and conclusion. And in the body of your speech, before you reach the body, you offer a transition. In the body of the speech, you have main ideas that are either chronological or topically organized, that you have transitions between each one of those points, and then you have a transition to the conclusion. So at any time, anyone in your audience would be able to know where you are and where you're headed. We obviously will also offer feedback overall, and we will always look at the time associated with the speech. So that's a little bit of the information that I have for you. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to the helpline. You can email your lecturer or your lab instructor. This speech is a lot of fun. We look forward to hearing all of your great ideas. And if you need help finding a topic or brainstorming ways that you can research your topic, don't be afraid to reach out or consider coming to the Speaking Center. And that you can find on your Navigate app. Okay, best of luck on this speech.